What's up, air gunners? So let's do a review of the Daystate Delta Wolf. This was bought about 8 months ago, so I've had it for some time. I bought it in 1.30 cal and 1.77. I got an extra barrel along with that. Just want to let you guys know, if you're easily offended or triggered by someone kind of giving constructive criticism to your favorite airgun company, you might want to switch it off now. So I'm going to go over some of the things I really like, some of the things that are okay, and then I'm going to talk about some of the things that needs improvement or the things I really dislike in that. So let's get into this. The first thing that really, kind of attracted me to this rifle was the fact that it has an onboard computer system. That controls the velocity. And so there's 3 ways to kind of program this gun to shoot the way you want. So it has a chronograph in the barrel. And the first one is AVS. I think it's automatic velocity system or advanced velocity system. Essentially, it's this. You program the computer to say, I want 800 feet per second with a slug, pellet, and over a few shots, it just manages everything automatically. Just it adapts the voltage, the dwell time, and that kind of does the suggestion of the regulator pressure on how you adjust it here. Everything else, within 2 to 5 shots, you'll probably be within 5 feet per second or right on the money. The second method is kind of pre-programmed in the computer. It's called warp with all reserve power. Essentially what that is doing is it's wrapping out the system, hitting it with the hardest hammer strike, the dwell, everything to get the fastest speed out of the gun for the regulator pressure. Obviously you can up the reg pressure, you're gonna get a little bit faster speed on your pellet or slug, but just know that's available right away. And that's just a flick of a switch button. You can move it from one to the other. The third, which is very confusing, which kind of comes down to the communication that we're going to get into, is the advanced tune. The advanced tune allows you to go in and set up programs, profiles for your gun. And that's, these things can be shared online. You can kind of, hey, here's where my voltage is at, here's where my dwell time's at, here's where the regulator pressure's at, here's my caliber, try these settings. And it gets you really close to what other people are shooting, so it allows you, to easily mimic someone else's gun. The nice thing is you can have just tons of different profiles, so you can get something you really like, experiment around. If you don't like it, just revert back to your profile. That's the best profile for how you want to shoot. You can shoot high, low, high pressure, low pressure. The other thing I like about this rifle is the fact that it's modular. You can pop off the barrel and the pin, put it in a 177, bring in your profile for a 177 profile, and automatically be set up within minutes. Within probably 5 minutes, you can get your tune back. It works awesome. And that's the thing, the computer, the chronograph, you can have the chronograph manage the gun and the speed and the power, or you can just turn the chronograph essentially off, or you can turn it on as just a viewer, as someone that's just going to look at what your speed is of your pellets as you tune the gun manually. This is great. So if we look at the gun overall, the action is typical Daystate. The build, high quality Daystate. This is Daystate's flagship air gun. It really is everything about it. Electronic trigger. If you've ever shot with an electronic trigger, you know what I'm talking about. It literally is the best kind of trigger system that I like. I can just shoot it so accurately in comparison. Yeah, in comparison to some other rifles. So the build, the quality, all that, the computer, that's great. Some of the average things, well, okay, let's talk about this. Now this is a flagship product, 24-inch barrel, pretty standard. Haven't really seen them go up to 26 or 28 or 600 millimeter, 700 millimeter, 800 millimeter barrels. I'd like to see that because there is some drawbacks to that, and that's the power. But, so if we look at the power, in 30 cal, I'm able to get up to maybe 90 foot-pounds of energy, maybe 95, but I don't feel I can push really big slugs very fast. And then it kind of comes down to the shot count. So shot count wise, you get some pretty decent shot counts, but it kind of comes down to the 480 cc tank. That's kind of anemic. I mean, it's standard. It's not anemic, but most of the FX guns, their premier products, have 580 cc's, and you're still sporting these 480 cc tanks. You're still sporting 24-inch barrels where they've gotten bigger on both ends to get you more shot count, more speed, less air consumption. Yeah, it's kind of showing. This feels a little bit dated in some ways. I know this is going to hurt some people's feelings. In some ways you have like the most advanced stuff, and in other ways you're kind of like, why did you put a 480cc tank with just this barrel? You know, I really wanted to push this, you know, hard with slugs. You know, the Daystate or the FX slugs are pretty good. The 44 grainers, that works out pretty well. And maybe some other slugs, but you're not going to push them like super fast like you can with some of the FX guns. Other than that, everything's pretty much standard. It's a bullpup. You know, I guess the under handle piece here is pretty standard, just like the FX guns and that. So what are the things that needs improvement? Well, before I get to that, the thing that I think is really good that I mentioned is the accuracy. Out of the box, I could not hit sub MOA, just to let you know. I'm gonna be honest on that one, but I felt like it was possible. What I mean by that is there's so many different tunes that I was kind of chasing around, switching barrels, always trying different loadouts and that, but I could get close. Now, the Red Wolf HP 177, I shot sub MOA at 115 yards, not 100, 115 yards. And it was amazing. Like 3-4 hours in, I printed a couple groups that were just like, yeah, that's awesome. But I kind of limited my selection. That gun kind of pushes you a certain direction. This gun opens it up. And that's where we have some of the drawbacks. This being their flagship product, Daystate, one of the biggest things I could say for a company is communication with their diehard fans. And Daystate just has done a poor job of that. I got to be honest. They just, if you look at YouTube, look for Daystate channel. I don't even know if they have one. It didn't register. YouTube's like the second largest search engine in the world. I picked up Air Guns of Arizona, but if you look at FX, if you look at anything, they have tons of tutorials on how to program their guns or how to set up their guns. I look at Daystate and their Delta Wolf, and there's like crickets. Like people are going out on forums and trying to like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm trying this, and it's like black magic. You know, they're looking around for recipes for this to work, and there's not a whole lot of direction from the company and the method to the madness and talking to their engineers on how this works. I know if their engineers were get their voice out, like here's how we think it should work, there's nothing. And so that's huge. In addition to that, it's the vision. You have your premier product, and a lot of times Sony, Nikon, Canon, when they're gonna put out new lenses, they'll have a roadmap. Like here's where we're going. You're gonna get an 800mm lens in 2 years. You're gonna get this in a year. We're gonna do this. There's been no word, just rumors of what they're gonna do with the computer. There's rumors that they're gonna have a phone app that's gonna be able to, you know, capture the chronograph, the numbers, and give shot strings. Again, rumor. Why don't they put this stuff out? Why don't they talk to people? Add insult to injury, they came out with the Alpha Wolf. There's still a lot of questions with this gun in itself. Not that, you know, it's like a big brother to this gun, but still, do you put out another gun without, you know, making things solid in this arena? Software updates and that. So I ended up buying the Delta Wolf programmer, and that was pretty rough. I'm gonna be honest. $120. The first computer I installed it on had driver issues. I'm in the tech field, by the way, so it's not like unheard of for this stuff to happen. I installed it on a second computer, everything's good. And then I start looking at the installations, installed directions, and I've seen some misspellings there. I'm like, guys, come on, man. You're misspelling some things. Things aren't, your communication's not that great. And then I hook up the USB to this computer from my computer and start playing with some things, and immediately like, oh, okay. And I kind of just, like I was looking through the panels, and I thought there'd be more in the software that would allow me maybe to capture the shot strings or do something. And it was literally what you could program in the interface of this gun. It was like no more really. There was a few extra things, and that was it. I was like, okay, $120 for this piece. And this is all I get is a couple tabs to be able to set this thing on and off. And it gets worse though. So I noticed after, I guess maybe not necessarily playing with this, I just noticed later that my regulator pressure was not reading on the gun. I'm like, okay, called Air Guns of Arizona and talking with an individual, hey, did you do this? I'm like, well, I pulled up the software, I did this piece, but I didn't change that part. And he's like, well, and then we kind of got talking. I'm like, why are they allowing someone to change something that would kind of wipe out some programming in the gun? So essentially, we don't know yet, but we might have to send this gun into Daystate and have them in the BIOS or do something like that with one of the regulators that communicates to the millivolts and all this other stuff. But yeah, had software that I might not have written over it with just data, like junk data. And it wasn't anything I changed. It was just like I saved to change the voltage, or I should say not even the voltage, but the readings up here in the computer to turn it from day to night. I was just playing with it like, yeah, right, do that. Yeah, do that. And it was writing a whole nother setting, some other setting that I didn't want to change, that I had no idea that if you do change it, it can pretty much wipe out your reg. And they need to kind of go in and open the gun up and look at it and do it that way, which again, this is your flagship product and you're doing stuff like that. So yeah, buy, sell, or hold right now. Right now it's a hold. I think Daystate needs to come out and talk to people to try to get them, hey, this is our plan, this is where we're going, here's some of the software, stop trying to sell your hardware, and get up and communicate with your diehard fans. There's a lot of heavy Daystate fans out there that love these guns, and I can see why. I get excited about it, but in the current state of how they're communicating, they're just getting out hustled by a lot of other companies. And that maybe they don't care about the sales, maybe they don't do this, but how they handle this flagship and going forward with this, if they put, you know, paywalls or updates to the computer, we got to update in a whole different gun, doesn't make me feel all that great. If that happens, yeah, I think there will be a lot of hurt feelings out there on that. But guys, I probably didn't answer all that much about this. Things I like, things that are okay, things that, you know, they could improve on. It's not necessarily the gun, it's the communication and some of the implementation of their software and explaining it. Comments, questions, concern, write them down below, and hopefully, guys, I will see you next week.